Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today is something I've been dying to do, and a lot of people have been asking me about this video, to do this video, since I have reviews of both of these helmets individually on my channel. So if you're interested, please go check them out. So today we're going to be talking about the Schuberth C5 and the Shoei Neotec 3. These are considered by all accounts two of the most premium touring modular helmets on the market. My personal opinion, it doesn't get better than this. These are both my helmets. These are both helmets I ride in. So let's get into the breakdown of this. So this is the Schuberth C5. This retails for $769 in plain colors, solid colors, if you will. This is going to be the Shoei Neotec 3. This retails at $899. Both of these, like I said, are touring modular helmets, the best of the best for sure. So this is going to be the C5. This comes in at 3.8 pounds, where the Neotec 3 comes in at 4.8 pounds. The C5 is available in extra small to 3X, and this is available, the Neotec is available in extra small to 2X. So at this price point, these helmets have a lot to offer, and this is really the difference between these two helmets is going to be very small nuances and things that will make a difference, but these aren't going to be dramatically different as far as feature sets. What is going to be different is fit, finish, and the way the helmet performs for you. To that, the one thing I cannot stress enough, no matter you're watching this video or any other of my helmet reviews, get yourself sized properly. It is so important. For the longest time, I wore a size large in helmets, only to go to RevZilla in Philadelphia, get fitted, and realize that I was pretty much a medium, at least in Shoei, and that sizing has made a huge difference. I don't get bobble and so forth. We'll get into that a little bit more, but that's extremely important. The other thing I want to talk about before we get into features is cost. This is my #1 pet peeve with riders. Everyone has no problem going out and dumping 30 grand on a touring bike, or any bike for that matter, any price bike. But everyone looks at helmets as a secondary thought. This helmet here is $899. This helmet is $769. At its face value, it's expensive, and it is. There's clearly no getting around the price. However, these helmets are rated, and industry ratings is 5 years and replace your helmet. If you itemize that 5 years over the cost, an $899 helmet is $15 a month. You go to McDonald's one time, it pays for your helmet for the month. Just think about it, it's your safety, and it's going to be the most important thing of gear that you're wearing. Better helmet leads to a better riding experience. You can ride longer. Now the dad speech is out of the way, let's get into it. So let's first talk about the Schuberth C5. So this is going to be Schuberth's modular helmet. Schuberth is known for quiet helmets, and this helmet certainly delivers on that. This helmet is extremely quiet. I wear earplugs when I ride. This helmet, however, if you're riding back roads under highway speed, you certainly could get away without wearing earplugs. At highway speed, I would still recommend them. That is my preference. Everything from this point in the video is really going to be my experience. You're not me, I'm not you, so take it for what it's worth. Everything is about preference at this point. So the C5, like I said, is their modular helmet. This helmet is designed to be extremely quiet. It is an extremely tight-fitting helmet. That's why size is important. In Shoei, I wear a size medium. In Schuberth, I went with a size large. I have both the Schuberth C5 as well as the Schuberth S3. The C5 definitely fits tight. The chin of the helmet as it pulls in is extremely close to you. It's going to be a lot closer to you than the Neotec 3. So it's something to consider, something you're going to want to try on and really get a feel for. Modular helmets for some people are very claustrophobic. It's really about what works for you. So with this helmet being modular, you've got the release on the front. You have two air intakes here. You have the chin intake, and then you have this flip-up intake that pushes air over the visor. That's going to keep the visor clear and preventing any fogging on top of what the Pinlock 120 provides. You're also going to have the air vent on the top with an exit on the back. Shoei, you're going to have the chin vent here. You're going to have the chin, the top vent, and then you're going to have the rear venting at the back. Both of these helmets, the rear vents do not close. As I said earlier, both of these have Pinlock 120s. Pinlock 120s allow you to be in a sitting position, standing still at a stoplight, what have you, for 120 seconds before introducing fog into the shield. Both of these shields are Pinlock ready. They do both come with Pinlock 120s. These are extremely, like I said, performance-oriented helmets. The one thing that I have noticed with these helmets, and it is a pet peeve of mine, and again, this is my preference, the thing that I do not like with the Shoei, if you notice here, the pins for the Pinlock are a lot closer to the center of your, say, your nose here than they are with the Schuberth. And the reason that bothers me is I can see these in my peripheral vision. You do a head check, you'll notice these. It's almost, it's there, and I find it distracting at times. Would it stop me from wearing this helmet? Absolutely not, because I ride in both of these helmets all the time. It's just a nitpick, and it's something that drives me personally a little crazy. But again, it's all preference into what you like. This is a C1 clarity of a shield. This shield in the Schuberth is extremely clear. So much so that there's a couple times when I was out riding and I went to adjust my sunglasses, I bounced off the shield because I didn't realize the shield was down. You have to really experience how clear it is to understand it. Again, these are both premium helmets. I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer. I'm simply going to give you my preference and my experience. So that's going to be for the Pinlock. Both of these, like I said, with the Modular. The other thing that we're going to mention with the shield, and this is going to be something that is going to be a bit of getting used to, and it took me a while. So the Schuberth has your standard levers on the side. Pop the shield up, pop shield down, no problem. You can see the detents aren't as deep as they are in some helmets here. It does slide up very easily. Not a problem, just something to note. So you have the normal handles on the side. It does have them on both sides, which I like because I can get to it with either hand. The Shoei has what is known as a GT release. So it has the release here in the center. The only way to get this shield up is to hit the center button and lift it up. In practice, it's pretty easy to do. When you get this helmet, however, it is not. It takes a little bit of getting used to, especially depending on what kind of gloves you wear. I wear thinner leather gloves. It's a little bit easier, but you kind of have to get your finger into this groove here and then hit the release and get it up. It does allow it to lock tight. It's not an issue after a while, but it is something to point out that it is going to be something you're going to have to get used to. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, and with touring helmets, this is absolutely key: airflow. If you're spending this kind of money on a premium helmet, airflow is key. Airflow is key in any touring helmet, but more so when you're spending this kind of money, you want the most you can. The Neotec 3, in most forums and most discussions that I've seen, does not flow as much air as the Neotec 2. My wife has the Neotec 2 that does fit me. I've rode the Neotec 2 and I've ridden the Neotec 3. And I can say after time, and I didn't think this originally, this does move less air than the Neotec 2. Why? I have no idea, but it definitely moves less air than the Neotec 2. Side by side, this does not move as much air as the Schuberth C5. The C5 it's like turning on an air conditioning vent. You can feel when you hit, with my Harley with the lower screen, once you hit about 25, 30 miles an hour, you can feel this ram air vent just sucking air out. And at highway speed on a 70, 80 degree day, at times I was closing the vent because it was getting cold. It's extremely impressive how much air it moves. Would you be roasting to death in the Neotec 3? Absolutely not. but the Schuberth C5 definitely moves more air. I know that's a concern for a lot of riders. It is a significant difference in my opinion. Again, that's only my opinion. Your mileage may vary. But this is definitely going to move more air in my experience, and it's really performed well. The thing that I don't like about the C5 while we're talking about ventilation is the touch points. The touch points on the C5 are not as robust as the vents controls are on the Schuberth. Is that a showstopper? Absolutely not. But it's something to just make note of. You know, the Schuberth is considerably, well, not considerably, but it is lighter. It's coming in at 3.8 pounds versus the 4.8 pounds of the Neotec 3. This does have speakers and is already pre-wired for Bluetooth communicators. We'll get into that in a bit. It does have speakers, and it still is, you know, lighter on paper. On your neck, is it lighter? I would say yes, but not significantly different. If you were not running, or you hadn't had the opportunity to ride both of these helmets back to back or in similar conditions or what have you, you would be hard pressed to know that there's a difference. But having the opportunity to have both of these helmets in my rotation, these two are my go-to helmets. I thought it would be interesting to bring you at least my perspective of how they've performed for me on my bike. Again, you would really have to experience both, but these are the differences, that little nuance that it makes. So the control surfaces are going to be a little different. You notice it as a tactile thing. It's not a showstopper. It's just something that I've noticed. It doesn't change performance. It's just one of them things. Sun visor. So they all have the drop-down sun visor, as they will at this price point. You have the lever on the Shoei, drops down, drops back up, drops back down, yada, yada, yada. If you are putting an external communicator on this helmet, you're going to have some difficulty in positioning it. You're going to have to really work it into the right position based on what that is. The Harley Davidson that we have the 50S Senas that only work on the Harley Davidson because, well, Harley techs. Because they're tall, you do have to do a little bit of finagling to get them in the right spot. But you can get them in the right spot and operate this, but you have to be aware that you're kind of reaching back to get to it. On the Schuberth, the drop-down visor is operated on the side here. Easy to get to, slides very nice and smooth. And it's a little bit easier than reaching up, it's reaching to the side. Again, is it a showstopper? Absolutely not. But it is a design difference, and you can adjust accordingly what your preference is. It is kind of nice that you're not reaching up all the way and trying to find it, especially if you're going over top of a comm. If you're using one of the newer Cardos, the Pack Talk Pro like I use, you're not going to have an issue so much with the visor controls. But if you're using something like the bigger Senas, you're going to have to consider where you're going to put your Sena unit. So that's going to be the difference as far as the visors. Now here gets into the interesting part. So all of us as riders, most of us wear comms on our helmets. When I ride out with my guys, my crew, we all have helmet comms. I use to communicate. I communicate with my wife on the back of the bike when I'm riding for music and so forth. That has become a big selling point. When you get to a helmet at this premium of a price point, slapping a communicator on the side of it is going to introduce some wind and some noise and some drag. I'm picking at hairs here, but it's the truth. It is going to introduce that to it. Is it a showstopper? Absolutely not. But you can tell the difference, at least for me, when the comm's there versus when it's not, especially without earplugs. You can hear that the helmet gets noisier. So to that, Shoei has a built-in comm system that goes for $359. It is based on a Sena mesh system. You can put the controls in here. You have the module in the back. Drops in, no fuss, no muss, keeps the helmet extremely streamlined. I do not have experience with that, but I know folks that have it, they like it. But my biggest pet peeve, and a lot of riders' pet peeves, are if you buy a helmet that has a drop-in comm, you're sucked into one camp. It seems to be right now that most of the helmets on the market are sucked into Sena. Is that a big deal? If you run a Sena, no. Is it a big deal if you can get them to mesh with Cardo riders or other third-party, not third-party, but other brands, some lesser-known brands, Lexan and so forth? If you can get it to work, it's absolutely not an issue. Mesh does tend to work better when it is the same brand. So Sena to Sena, Cardo to Cardo, so forth. Because you don't want to have to go to Bluetooth, so you want to stay with mesh with the same brand. So this is something that I was so excited that when I saw it. I am a Cardo ambassador, so if you're looking for any Cardo products, there'll be a affiliate link in the bottom if you want to check that out. But Schuberth released something in the last few months that I think is an absolute game changer. Schuberth has a module now for Cardo. So it has a module that drops in on the side here. It has a unit in the back because it is pre-wired. You drop a mic and it's good to go. But it also has a Sena module as well. So it gives you the option to go with both main camps of communicators. I think that that's really cool. I know when I first started riding, everything was about Sena, 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 Sena. As it's evolved and as I've got more back to group riding, everyone's gone Cardo. So it gives you the option to use both. Maybe you go Cardo and you decide later on your crew goes to Sena and it's easier. Or reverse, you go to Sena back to Cardo. It does give you a lot of variety in that, and it gives you options. And I think that if you're going to be buying a helmet at this price point, it's worth considering the built-in comm. Unfortunately, the built-in comms don't work with the Harley directly. There are some workarounds for that, but again, that is strictly a Harley tax thing if you have a Harley touring bike. Other things I want to point out with these helmets. Being that Schuberth is basically a touring company, their helmets are premium helmets that are made for touring. They have this, which is the standard clear visor. They have a dark smoke visor, which realistically is probably like a light smoke visor at that you would see from other brands. It is not dark smoke. They have a silver reflective one that I've not seen in person, but I understand is very lightly tinted. And then they have an amber one. So those are the clear, the amber, the light smoke. They're definitely made for a demographic of touring riders, right? You have the light smoke, you can wear that. You have the drop-down visor. It's made for more of a traditional touring market. And that's why it's sold in BMW dealerships and other dealerships. The Shoei, however, has a variety of shields. You'll see in my other video if you want to check out those, the individual reviews of these helmets. You want to check out the Neotec 3. I think it's called the Ruby Fire. It's a really cool, like gold ruby color mirrored shield. I like that because I ride with sunglasses on top of a dark shield. On all my helmets, I have the dark smoke for this, and I have a mirrored shield for this, and both my other helmets have dark shields. I personally like a dark shield. I like it darker than dark when I ride. So with this, you could drop down the sun visor, say have the smoke shield, and even sunglasses. I like to ride that way, but again, it's preference. The mirrored shields for this provide that option. So if you want to accessorize and buy a helmet that's going to have a lot of funky look to it, where you're going to have a mirrored shield and a primary color, or even some of the unique paint schemes that they make for either one of these helmets, then Shoei's going to provide you with more options. Again, I think in the touring world, that's not even a consideration for most people, but it's just things I like to point out. So where does that leave us at the end of the day? I don't know personally that there's a right answer to this. I would try both of these on and see how they fit for you. I am on the larger side of a medium for Shoei. I'm like between 58 and 59 when I got measured. So this is a 57 to 58, and it fits extremely tight. When I got it out of the box, I wasn't convinced I was going to be able to keep it. I was already working on returning it to the dealer. Once it broke in, it was fine, and it is extremely snug, and it does not wobble, even with the visor up at highway speed. I personally like my helmets to be very tight and very form-fitting, you know, full chipmunk cheeks when I ride. That's the most comfortable way for me to ride. The Schuberth is a 59, so it's a little outside of, if you're looking at me being in like that 58 range, it's a little bit bigger than the range of the Shoei. So it fits me tighter. The Shoei fits me tighter than the Schuberth. I did get the the larger cheek pads, for the largest cheek pads you can get to kind of tighten it up, and it has tightened it up considerably, but not quite there. And that's where I was going with this whole thing. For this, you're going to have the head crown and the side cheek pads. With this, there are 7 different pads that you can adjust, that you can have replaced and swap in and out to get a custom fit for this helmet. So you have 7 points of touch points that you can adjust in this helmet. So what I'm probably going to do with this is buy a medium kit liner and adjust them in and out until I get the fit that I want, to get that really nice tight, some people call it a GP fit of the helmet. The Shoei doesn't have that option. Shoei does have an individual program that you can go to at some dealers, and they're very limited in the States, that will custom fit the Shoei for you, for your head crown, and kind of make it fit perfectly for your need. Shoei does have a traveling option where they go to certain dealers on certain days and you can get your helmet fitted, but they don't, I think there's only like 5 or 7 across the country that do it. So this is going to limit that option of, you're only going to have those 3 points that you can change out, well, 2 technically, your cheek pad and your crown, where the Schuberth is going to have the 7. So the 7 is really going to allow you to adjust it. Schuberth's a German company. It's what you would expect from German engineering. They've thought about all these tweaks and these things that you can do to get the helmet to fit best for you. That's something I'm going to look into getting. I want to get the different, I want to go to a medium size and tighten the helmet up a bit. These are, the shell sizes don't change for medium to large, so I have the ability to do that, so I want to try it out. I appreciate you guys watching. This is a lot of information. If you're watching this video, you're a helmet nerd like myself, so consider subscribing to the channel. Subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment, leaving a like, sharing this video is the absolute 4 greatest things you can do for me as a creator that allows me to grow my channel. It allows me to get engagement with brands and allows me to keep the channel going and have opportunities to review products, etc. So that is all I have for today. I'm going to put affiliate links in the description of the video. I hope if you would consider buying them, that use the links in the description. A small amount of that money goes back to support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. You'll feel better about your life. Scientifically proven. Probably not really proven. But if you go ahead and do that, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time out to watch my fellow helmet nerds. Please have a great day, and as always, remember, you're not alone.